Have you ever heard of writing described as a process? Well, hang out with me for a couple of minutes, and I'll give you my take on that. I often ask my students to share their past experiences with reading and writing. This helps me to get a feel for the room, so to speak, enabling me to tailor reading and writing activities and projects to fit their needs. I've heard and read literally hundreds of reflections on this. And particularly with writing, my students often characterize their worst experiences with writing by waiting until the last minute to do the writing. This happens for a variety of reasons. We feel overwhelmed, confused, intimidated, all kinds of negative emotions that prompt avoidant behavior. After all, it's human tendency to avoid the negative and stay safe, rather than risk injury for a potential positive. Procrastination isn't about being lazy or irresponsible. There are real cognitive and psychological factors at play here. This is why, in my view, treating writing as a process is so important. So what does that look like? What do I mean by writing as a process? Well, in reflecting on my own process, I'm thinking about how this script for this video came together. It started with identifying a need that I saw. I'm teaching a lot of online courses, so I don't get to see my students face to face. Most of those students are fairly new to college. Many of them are in their very first semester. Writing as a process might be unfamiliar to them, and even though our textbooks talk about it, I know how important it is. So I wanted to supplement that point by making this video. I thought about that for about a few days. I started writing, and as I got further into my project, I reviewed the information from the textbooks so that I could touch on some of the material, but not be too redundant. I created a list of some of the things that I wanted to cover, and then that list evolved into sentences and paragraphs. Later, I remembered that YouTube videos, as a genre, often have little introductory tags before the body of the video starts. So I went back and wrote the "Have you heard of writing described as a process?" section. Then I read our textbook materials to see if I covered everything well. Then I decided to not cite from the textbooks so much because I didn't want my students to listen to me tell them about what they were just about to read or what they've already read. So I deleted all of that and wrote this paragraph instead. So through this writing process, I discovered that my students would be better served by this video being an additional text to the topic of writing as a process, rather than a repetition of the assigned reading just in another format. I had to write in order to discover what I wanted to write about. In that, writing is a process of self-discovery. It's a process of making sense out of your own thinking, and it does not have to be perfect. It's a messy process that involves going back and forth between what you're reading and writing. So my best advice is to suspend your need for perfection and just get started. Expect to write multiple drafts. Expect to write as you read and read as you write. Expect to seek help and feedback. Expect that you will revise your work. And expect that this process will take some time. Much more time than the night before you have to turn something in. Treat writing as a process to avoid the negative of that stressful night, my friends. Trust me. And trust you. Hey, speaking of you, what are your thoughts and experiences on writing as a process? Or on procrastination? Let's have a conversation in the comments below. Just be sure to keep it civil. Bye, everybody, and I'll see you next time.